Okay, darling, let's talk about it. Your space is feeling off. It just is. I mean, I know it. You know it. That's why you typed this in. That's why you saw my video. That's why you clicked it. That's why we're here. We had a vision, we had an imagination of what this was going to look like. And now that it's coming to life, it's just not giving. It's not giving, and we're not figuring out why. But kudos to you. Kudos to you for watching this because there are 6 design principles that are out there that are really going to help us problem solve, figure out a solution, and get that place together. I'm here to guide you. My name is Lisa, and I'm so glad you're here because these are 6 design principles that I am always keeping in mind as an interior stylist when I work on decorating spaces. I work in commercial spaces and residential spaces. I like to conceptualize, and these are just some of the principles that I keep in mind to make sure that I land it every time. Your space is feeling off and you're not sure why, and that's probably because of the balance. If symmetrical balance is your problem, then let's create an anchor for the space. Let's say for your bedroom, the anchor is the bed. Then we would help create symmetry through the table lamps and placing one on each side of the nightstand. If your space feels chaotic, try 2 matching table lamps to anchor a sofa, or the same idea of like 2 pieces of art to anchor a bed in a bedroom. It just creates instantly visual order. So if asymmetry is off in your space, you have to focus on visual weight and not necessarily the items themselves. What I mean by that is balancing a tall plant with a bunch of stacked books on the other side. It really should feel balanced, not busy. Now, if the radial balance is off, then we are not feeling as cozy as we should, because radial balance is great for invitation. It's great for conversation and intimate settings. If your space feels disconnected in that way, add a circular element, like a rug or a coffee table or a light fixture, and arrange those pieces around it. It drives the eye inward and brings harmony. Balance, it does not mean boring, it means intentional. If you play with structure, the style will follow. The second reason why your space may not just be working right is the harmony and the unity is off. We're not achieving a unity feel where things feel cohesive and that they belong together. When things are harmonious and when there's unity achieved, everything feels like they just go together. And it's really just taking those elements of the design theme, whether that is Art Deco mixed with Japandi, or we're taking contemporary elements and we're mixing that with eclectic elements. It just has to be harmonious. And by creating harmony, you are repeating elements where that design theme, those colors, those choices, those materials, those textures are reinforced and they're balanced as well. So harmony and unity is also related to the other design principles that we're going to talk about in this video. You can achieve unity and balance through shape, form, color, texture, and even pattern. If one side of your room feels off, maybe it's more heavy with furniture, you can balance the texture or color on the opposite side. A chair does not need to match a lamp, but they do need to speak the same language. And my third tip is not just to style, but you have to soften. Hard surfaces everywhere, well then we need to soften them. Let's bring some florals in. Let's bring in a vase. Let's bring in some texture. Maybe it's a table linen. Harmony lives where contrast meets comfort. If the room is all metal, leather, and wood, try layering in a book, fabric, and texture like a rug that grounds. Balance isn't about perfection. It's about feeling good when you walk into the room. Save this for when that moment comes when you need a reset. Okay, so the third reason why your space might be off is because of the rhythm. Rhythm is repetition. Repetition of elements in a pattern, and it sets up a sequence. The repetition can take shape as a shape, like literally shape, form, color, lighting, furniture, texture. There is an intentional element to repetition that could feel really balanced, but perhaps because yours isn't executed right, it's making the space feel off. The best way to solve for this is to look for ways to repeat. If you have a round coffee table, then echo that shape with a circular tray, a curved lamp, or even a dome shaped vase. Our eyes crave pattern. Even if you don't notice it, your brain does. Another way to solve for this is to repeat colors within space. So, a space with small pops of the same color, like forest green velvet pillows, and then having a green art print with green taper candles, and having all of that spaced out across the room. The same goes for color. Repeat it in art, repeat it in textiles, repeat it in tiny accents, sorry, and that's going to create rhythm throughout the space, and rhythm equals harmony. If your space is feeling a little off, please check the rhythm, okay? Repetition is your friend. The fourth reason why your space is feeling off could be the emphasis and the focus. And in each room, there are just design elements or features that just demand and require more attention than others. Who's going to be the Beyonce? And then who's going to be the backup dancers? The Beyonce of the room could be the fireplace in the living room, the sofa, the light fixture, the art. You really do have to find your Beyonce and anchor that as the focal and the emphasis. Perhaps your problem is there's just too much going on. Everybody's competing. Not everybody can be Beyonce. We need some backup dancers. Backup dancers make the show great. She can't be up there by herself. We need emphasis and focus on her by having support. Instead of competing pieces, choose one or two elements that lead and let the others respond. Every space needs a visual pause, something that says, look here first. If everything is loud, nothing stands out. Without a focal point, your eyes are working overtime trying to make sense of the room. And that is what creates that uneasy feeling. Edit your space so the background just plays cool. Think soft textures, neutral tones, or negative space. You have to give the eye room to breathe and let one thing take the lead. So if the design feels off and you don't know where to look, bring in focus and clarity, and suddenly it just clicks. Try these and let me know how your room changes. Another way you can achieve this is by creating an offset from rhythm, right? Like let's say I'm going to use, Beyonce as an example again, or just even a star, right? They're centered in the middle, but then there's rhythm behind them by creating a V shape. We see this with a lot of performances for celebrities and artists where they stand in the middle and it creates a V shape by repetition. Well, them being in the middle is the offset to that repetition. And that emphasis and that focus is executed by positioning. So when it relates to your space, let's say we have a repetition leading up and suddenly it stops, and now all of that repetition brings a focal emphasis to that center item. So that is how we can create interest and just so much more excitement visually by having emphasis through positioning. The next reason why your space might be feeling off is because it's lacking contrast and variety. If everything is the same, then the room falls flat. You need contrast, you need differentiality to make things interesting. Contrast and variety is the way that two things are perceived. You can create importance, or you can also create depth. It can be subtle, or it could also be extreme. Two elements can have contrast through form, through shape, through color, through texture, through proportion. If everything is square, soft, or the same size, it's going to fall flat. mix in an opposite. If your sofa is linen, then bring in something glossy like a mirror or a silver tray. If your palette is all soft and neutral, which I do love, anchor it with something dark, a black frame or a deep wood, even a stack of books with edge. You're not trying to disrupt the vibe, you're just giving it depth. Think of it like building a sentence. You need punctuation, pause, emphasis. That's what variety does. If you checked all those boxes and you did all of those things and your room is still feeling off, then it has to be the very last design principle, which is proportion. Proportion is how objects relate to one another. It's the sense of balance and harmony. It's the reason why that piece of art at the museum looked so small and now in your living room looks so massive. It's how that size is proportional to the rest of the room. It's the reason why things can feel awkward, feel overwhelming, and really feel off. If you really want to go deeper into this, like proportions, there are principles that you can practice that designers do know. It's called the Golden Rule or Modular by Le Corbusier. Le Corbusier. Le Corbusier. Forgive me if I mispronounced that, but it is a technique in which you can always get it right if you really want to dive deeper. But that's not going to be covered in this video. In this video, we're just going to talk surface level and the tips to always get proportions right. If the item is big, then I'm going to balance it with bigger. Let me explain. If you have a large sofa or a really big chunky item, right? You have to try to scale up your accessories. If you have a big sofa, then get a big piece of art. Go oversized. A statement floor lamp, it just has to create balance, you know? Small things can look lost next to big ticket items. And another tip, which is what I see a lot of people like kind of get wrong here, is let your rug anchor the room. And I'm talking your furniture and all its four legs having space on that rug. Do not go too small on the rug. The rug is the anchor, the rug is the foundation. So, far too often I see people having small rugs, and that really just throws the proportion off. Your rug should ground the space. Think under all your furniture legs. It doesn't just sit there, it sets the visual rhythm. If your room feels like it's floating, your rug is probably not doing its job. Proportion is just one of those things you feel before you know how to fix it. But once you get it right, everything just clicks. Design isn't just about what looks good, it's about what works, what feels right, and what brings ease into your space. If this sparks something for you, I share more like this: product links, styling strategies, every other week in my newsletter. You can sign up with the link below. And remember, design is energy direction. Make yours count.